So as you look at this, building this ecosystem out and building the interoperability out, in terms of your, Humana's strategy, you can walk us through kind of, the journey you've been on to date, and what are the key sort of tenets within that journey of building this out?
Yeah, so I think the first place to start is to consider, what approach do you take in supporting interoperability, not just for ourselves as Humana, but for the ecosystem. Because in the end, interoperability is only as impactful as the places where it's applied, right? It's not an internal thing. It's not a Humana service that we just look at from an internal perspective. It's got to participate in a greater ecosystem. It has to include providers. It has to include consumer-based applications, Apple Health, all of these other services that are now, people have an expectation to be able to control and integrate with all of their life, right? Whether it be what you watch on TV or what you stream, to what your health is and what your health means to you, right? So, Fitbit, you think of all the different new devices and stuff around managing your health. Well, it's just going to go beyond that. It's going to get into, I want to be able to manage my, prescriptions and my lab results and all these things. I want to be able to see that. I want to have access to that. I want to be able to share that with others to basically improve my journey. So when you think of it from that perspective, we had to consider, well, how do we create something that is designed around the ecosystem as opposed to Humana? And the way we did that is first is take an approach of saying it needs to be platform-based, meaning it can't be siloed to a business unit. It has to be a global thing that allows us to plug and play and continue to adapt to as interoperability opportunities evolve. So that was one thing that we had to do is first settle on it should be a platform approach to how we look at solving the problem. Right. And then two, when we're developing a platform, you just talked about how did we think about it or what are the concerns? And we talked about how it has to be an ecosystem approach, meaning it has to be payer agnostic. Be just strictly for Humana's purpose. When we think about it, it has to be customer focused, which means the members and the consumers and the patients, right? Those are the people that are important to make sure that we're serving. Therefore, the opportunity we have when we look at it is we have to be able to support it in a payer agnostic fashion. So the resources and the ways that we create those interoperability opportunities has to not just be, for years and years, when you think about it, I talked about the financial nature of the health insurer to provider relationship. That put the insurer in the direct position of dictating how somebody got paid, meaning you're going to send me my ID, and if you don't send me my ID with this data in this format, in this way, I'm not going to reimburse you. Well, we're no longer, it's not financial anymore, it's clinical now. It's about changing the point of care, being able to influence the health outcomes.
Right.
With that in mind, it has to be putting the patient first, meaning I don't want to put barriers to that being able to occur. And in order to do that, I got to remove the artificial requirements around how I am able to identify and provide the right data at the right time at the point of care in order to lead to the better outcome. So I have to be payer agnostic.
Bringing it contextually to the situation you're in is a significant challenge in what you're doing. And so the kind of this, as you say, the data platform, looking at it enterprise-wide rather than siloed in a functional perspective is a journey Humana took, which is an ambitious journey. It is a significant change to take on. And so if you look at that, sort of what I would call a massive data fabric, if you want to call it that, which you're building out, which is agile, has got the flexibility in it, so it can adapt to new changes which occur and have the patient at the forefront of it. What kind of building blocks did you architecturally put into place and sort of ecosystems did you think about from a partner network did you think about?
Sure. So 2 points to that. One, you mentioned, and we were kind of talking about just the platform approach. Well, the reality is there are two platforms that we looked at building. One really supports and enables the other. The first platform that we're looking at really was around focused on the interoperability interfaces, meaning part of what helped interoperability start taking leaps forward and is put us on this journey is the industry standards by which that have been developed in recent years that really are starting to take hold all the way through to provider-based systems and EHRs and EMRs and things like that, that allow us to interrupt the point of care within workflow as opposed to an agnostic system that sits outside of it that basically creates disruption in the application of that data within that transaction or within that interface with the consumer. So that was the first thing. And the first platform that we focused on was about supporting that industry standard in a scalable way that allows us to
kind of the FHIR
interface with
standard,
something called FHIR standard. That's exactly what it is. And so that is that API standard that creates a set of common resources that we can work with across healthcare. And then there are additional applications around the Da Vinci project and others, and including Smart on FHIR, which allows us to build smart apps that directly integrate with the provider-based systems in workflow. So the provider is like they're using their system and they're just interacting with our data, and we can guide an experience to improve the health journey for the individual. So that's the first aspect to it. But underlying all that, and this is maybe more relevant to what you were asking and kind of talking through and leading up to how we approach enabling that from a Humana perspective. We have, a rich set of data. The insurers, that's the one thing we have that nobody else has when we look at disruptors in the market. And we also look at just in general. We are a central point to your interactions with providers. Therefore, your historical view of data as it comes through the claims, the diagnosis codes, the pharmaceuticals, all of that stuff flows through the payer. And as such, we have a rich set of data that can be used to improve your outcomes and your journey. And so the first thing to do when you look at a company that's been in business for over 50 years and grew up maybe not with digital transformation or digital experience in mind, that data is not necessarily easily accessed or available at an enterprise scale. It is more localized to the platform or the usage that it was originally intended for. And so when we consider how do we enable that interoperability journey, the first thing we have to do is we have to liberate and democratize our data internally to be able to support that. And that's where the data fabric concept comes in. And this is not a new concept. It's not like we invented this out of nowhere. This is an industry concept. If you look at a company like Stitch Fix, did a white paper on it. They enabled all their analytics through doing a data fabric approach. I believe you all actually have some experiences, and part of why we and we do partner with you all to do some of the work that we do. You took a similar approach with a company called GSK, I believe, where pharmaceutical company, where they decided that the way to be able to do holistic analytics and kind of see that full picture and be able to create those insights and affect some outcome was to centralize or have a way to create a central hub by which data is exchanged or made available so that you have that holistic view into the overall data across a large input or multi-application based company that has tons of different systems that have grown up over time that have similar data but don't have relationships directly between them in the way that they work. So when we consider that, the first thing we have to do is make that data available. And that is where a data fabric comes in as a concept. Now, in order to enable that, you have to have partners, you have to have technology to be able to create that scalability and the ability to share that data in a holistic fashion. And so when I talked about platform and us being a health company, we're not a technology company. We have technologists, we have a technology arm, but in the end, we're really a health company first and foremost. We think, our business cases are driven by our health journey and what we're trying to do there and our insurance products. So when we look at that, we have to make partnerships and have technology partners that help us orchestrate and build experiences leveraging those capabilities.
That's good. Great.
And we partnered with a couple companies to do that. One of them being, Modak was we use you all for a product called Naboo. And Fireshots. And what Naboo and Fireshot does is really accelerate our ability to create reusable pipelines, automate the ability to bring that data together and create the data fabric kind of basis for that liberation of data and making it available. And then in addition to that, in order to do any of this, we made a stance early on that we needed to be a cloud-based solution, that we needed a cloud-based solution because it has to be scalable. Like in the end, we moved outside of a localized solution for something to a global, a larger ecosystem-based solution where the demands on accessing and using that data, or the ability to access and use that data. Again, obviously we put, everybody's data protection at the center of everything we do, or required, or else we couldn't sell insurance or work with health data. So obviously you have consent rights and all those things embedded within this experience that's being created. But in order to do that, we know that the vision is to have, tons of data being able to be exchanged to improve that journey. And in order to do that effectively, we need to have a scalable infrastructure that can support the demands. And the only way to do that is to build and leverage the power of cloud-based technologies that basically, for all intents and purposes, give you infinite scalability. So we partner
your
with
uniqueness there, really, what you did.